with needles in their hands, with no love in their future, all their homes in no man's land. The law is one of violence, the pushers are their friends. The children grow up the same damn way, the circle never ends. When time has no real meaning and no hope can be found, I guess you'll finally realize it's a hard line coming down.
I haven't seen Mike since the 70s. He owes me a little bit of money, but that's no reason to hide out.
There's at least a page and a half of Charbonneau's in the Sudbury phone book, and if you'd tried to dial them all, I'm sure you still wouldn't find Mike. He'd likely be working in a body shop somewhere, living in a tiny apartment on the outskirts of town. That's likely his profile. Just him and his dog. If he's still alive, he'd be one of the last survivors of an old gang whose members you'll find scattered across graveyards all over town. The coolest person I've ever known is Joe. He taught everybody in grade 3 how to smoke cigarettes at St. Albert's School many decades ago. I heard that he died with a cigarette in his mouth.
Debris filled the air as construction crews started to demolish the old St. Albert's School on January 16th. The 22,000 square foot building located on Eyre Street was built in 1960.
Funny, but I couldn't find his grave the first time I looked, as if he didn't want me to find it. I went back the next day after getting directions, and sure enough, there he was, right behind Val. In another lonely graveyard, you can find Bruce. He too died of the automobile at the cursed age of 27, just like his friend Andy Sampson, who followed a few months later. Bruce met his end at this intersection, right in front of Viviano's store. The papers say he suffered head injuries after losing control of his vehicle and striking the building. Many more were to follow, all with very short lives. Perhaps needing the guidance of folks who lived a long time, I thought to ask the oldest person I know.
I'm still going along. That broken hip never made my walking any good. I had to get a false hip put on, but I use my walker. And still I walk around the house without this, but I would never do it outside. I take my walker. Oh, we booked last night, the night before. Got up this morning, had a boogie some more. Hella boogie. I still like a little booze once in a while.
Little wine?
Yeah, that's what keeps you good. You have to be that kind of person to live long. Not to be an alcoholic, but enjoy a little drink of wine once in a while, that sort of thing.
One day alone, another life away. Eyes meet once and drift apart. making plans through tinted glass, or lying on the floor between the rocks of God's own blood, love in a liquor store.
People die, but crummy apartments live on, and Mike's lived in his share of divey places. The last I heard, he was back on Riverside Drive, not too far from where I grew up, near the Sylvia Apartments. I can remember my mother having parties with brand new Tupperware and fancy chip dip bowls. All the women had beehive hairdos and everyone smoked cigarettes. Like many places that have hills, you'll find that folks with money live on the top and everyone else is on the bottom. My neighborhood was no different, so we lived right on the bottom of Winchester Street, close to the creek. It took me a while to realize that Riverside Drive was named after a paved-over little creek that surfaced every now and then through the city. That's the place where you'll find the gutted wallets and dead cats. I remember finding an empty purse down there, thinking that some poor woman fell in and was forgotten, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, I haven't been back to Sudbury in a number of years. It sort of still looked like the moon when I was back there. I stayed around the Donovan and stuff, and Mike and I used to prowl the streets all hours of the night, I guess. It's don't have much urge to go back there anymore, but I hear it's becoming a nicer place. Good for them.
Before they built the big stack, there were 3 little ones. In the summertime, when it was really hot and the conditions were just right, the smoke would touch down on the city, bathing it in a bluish haze. I can remember riding my bike when the fog rolled in and having to stop because I couldn't breathe due to the sulfur fumes. I used to think that clouds came from smokestacks, and in my neighborhood, so did everybody else. If you went back there now, you might think I was exaggerating, but this place was very black, burned by the roast yards used to smelt nickel, and we used to play on the rim of that crater. The place where they say looked just like the moon.
Well, I remember one time about 25, 26 years ago, Mike and I were playing down the strip in Sudbury. And the hookers respected us because we did them. We were the only guys on the street that weren't trying to do them in. Mike, as I recall, eventually ended up going with one for a few years there until she slashed his temporal artery and ran over him with his own van and broke his left leg. Something awful.
There's a hole in the wall, there's a bow in the floor. It's a hell of a fight at 3:45, and it seems to be growing.
you can hear its roar. Well, it's a slap in the face from this family place, but tomorrow morn there will be no trace, and no one but us saw the hookers next door.
I haven't seen Mike since I broke his leg and slashed his temporal artery. That was officially the last time we spoke.
Okay, days have changed, I guess, since my days in Sudbury. I was a lot younger and a lot more flexible than I am nowadays. I seem to enjoy the life out here. It's a simple life. I see people in the summer, they don't come in the winter. It keeps the riff-raff out. And wherever Mike is, I hope he's doing the same. We'll see you along the way, Mike.
Well, I guess I never found him this time, and maybe I didn't look hard enough. I noticed that Conestoga Pete had his name listed in the book, but I didn't bother calling. Maybe next time. A wise man once said that sometimes it's best to leave things as they are, and I will for now, but I often wonder what became of the folks that were born on the Black Rocks.
Careful, but I know we went too far. Spill it every night, take it to a fight. There's a baby in the bucket, so the drinks taste right. Down at the bar, that's where we eat. Love those menus that just say meat. And most of everything, but I don't think it's right. Take what's left of Owen and to call